Welcome back to From the Couch Sports. This is going to be my 2022 NBA mock draft. I'm pretty much only covering the lottery. I'll touch on a couple prospects that I also would recommend looking into. I try to make this as comprehensive as possible, but also something that you can enjoy to watch. If anybody watched the NFL one that I did the full first round. We go over kind of like the pros, what these players are good at. Talk about the fit with the teams that I have mocking taking them. We go through measurements, statistics, those kind of things, and then what my expectations or predictions are for them in the coming season as rookies. To get things started, I just want to kind of recap on how I do these. I'm not a professional scout by any means. I've watched a ton of college basketball, and then kind of watched quite a bit about these prospects. But I'm not here to degrade and to talk negatively about them. These are young men that are going into a stage of their life where they're going to realize their dream of becoming an NBA player. So, you can see other videos where they're gonna talk about the negatives and weaknesses of the players and such. That's not what this is for. I want to spotlight, show some of the highlights, and talk about my favorite picks, the fits and whatnot, and then also kind of how I come up with these picks. I'm looking at a few different things. I do go through kind of see what fan bases view their team taking. I think a lot of fans have a better understanding of what their team would select than maybe someone looking in on the outside of, like me personally, as a New York Jets fan, it's like I know way more about the Jets than anybody that's not a Jets fan for the most part. So, I definitely value those opinions. I also look, what are some history as far as the GMs, presidents of the team, and what have you. What have they taken in the past? And then, for basketball, and more so than football, I feel like most teams go best player available, more so than they do, let's pick a player that fits our system. Obviously all those things are going to kind of factor into the picks that we have going here. And then I'm expecting this to come out right around a week or so before the NBA draft actually happens. So obviously there's going to be some different things that could drastically change how this mock draft goes. We haven't really had a whole lot of trades. I think the Mavericks just traded for Christian Wood. That doesn't really affect any kind of lottery positioning. But there certainly has been rumors of, teams wanting to either trade up, trade their pick away for a proven player, or trade back in the draft as well. So, I'm not gonna like mock any potential trades. I'm just going, if I was this team in this spot picking where they're selected to pick, this is the player I would pick based on how the board shakes out. But nonetheless, let's get into it with the first overall pick in the 2022 NBA draft. And I think this pick has been kind of talked about for months since the NCAA tournament. I've got the Orlando Magic selecting Jabari Smith Jr. out of Auburn. So Jabari Smith is a 19-year-old, 6'10", 220-pound athlete. In 34 games at Auburn, he averaged 16.9 points per game, 7.4 rebounds, and also a block. And he also shot just under 80% from the free throw line. It's like 79.9%. And he shot 42% from three. So with Smith, this is a guy who's got one of the smoothest jump shots in the draft, especially for a big man. He's got an incredible jumper. He can shoot the three very well. And also another thing, I don't want to get into too many kind of like this is who this draft projections. I'm not gonna come in here and say Jabari Smith's the next Kevin Durant or anything like that, because these are all individual, unique players in their own right. Does he have some of that skill to him? Absolutely. And there's a lot of players in this draft that you could probably make some kind of projection as to who they play like. But nonetheless, Jabari Smith, He's got a lot of length. Only one block a game, but he's shown the talent to, be a pretty good defensive player at the next level. He's got a good handle as well for being 6'10". He can dribble the ball really well, and he's just got such a polished jump shot. He's able to catch and shoot, create his own shots as well. Just very talented player, good athlete. Not the best athlete in this class, but one of the better athletes. And he's got a good frame as well, 6'10", 220. He should be a very good player at the next level, in my opinion. And then as far as the fit goes with the Orlando Magic, I think Jabari Smith will fit perfectly in the post alongside Wendell Carter, who actually had a kind of a career year last year for the Magic. He had 15 a game and 10 boards. So him alongside Wendell Carter, you've got a lot of young talent at the guard positions. You've got Jalen Suggs. Last year they also had Franz Wagner, the other rookie. And you got a couple other things that you might not exactly know where they're gonna go in the future. Like they've got a just stacked at guard. They've got Cole Anthony, Markelle Fultz. You got Mo Bamba, which I'm not sure if he's gonna be headed elsewhere this offseason. But they got a really good young talented roster. They're hoping they get Jonathan Isaac back. And if you have Jonathan Isaac, Wendell Carter, and Jabari Smith on the court at the same time, you got three guys that are 6'10 plus, three guys that I know Jonathan Isaac wasn't the top scorer. It's certainly an area that he's developing, but you got the length, good defensive versatility. I think the Magic have a lot to look forward to if they do end up taking Jabari Smith first overall. And then, kind of looking forward for the Magic, I don't really expect the Magic to go out there and, make the playoffs next year or anything. They have a very young roster, and, a lot of it's going to kind of depend on how quickly these guys, how is Jalen Suggs going to play in year 2? How quickly is Jabari Smith going to kind of realize that potential? But looking at it as far as what I can see from Jabari Smith as a rookie, I mean, he could really become the focal point of the Magic offense. They don't really have a guy at the moment that's just going to go and get them 20 a night. And I think Jabari Smith could be that guy day one for the Magic. Obviously, first overall pick, you expect a guy that, can potentially have a Hall of Fame career. You expect a guy to be that dude day one if you're taking him first overall. So I can definitely see him kind of in the running for Rookie of the Year. And then, just potential is through the roof. He's going to have a long, good career ahead of him, hopefully. And then with the second overall pick in this mock draft, I have the under selecting Chet Holmgren out of Gonzaga. So Chet Holmgren, and honestly, the top 3 picks, they're all posts, but they all kind of have their own unique skill set. So these teams could very well think differently than I do. I'm just kind of going off of what I've heard and read as of late, what things are kind of looking towards. But Chet Holmgren, 20 years old, he's a legit 7-footer. Got a very slim build. I think he's probably right around 200 pounds, or they said he was under 200 during the season. But in college, he was, Gonzaga was one of the best teams in the nation, and he was one of the best players on that team. He had 14 a game, scoring the ball, 9.9 rebounds per game, and then 3.7 blocks per game, which was 4th in the nation. And then not only that, Chet Holmgren can shoot. He shot 39% from 3, and then 71.7% from the free throw line. So this is a guy that, he's got a very unique style, his length, his size. He's going to come in and be able to disrupt shots right away, be one of the better, shot blockers. And then he can handle the ball well. He can move the court. He's a good passer. And he can also shoot the ball pretty well as well. So, Chet Holmgren, I think, has a ton of potential. Some people even have him going number 1 overall. But like I said, it just depends on, what these teams deem what they want going forward, who's going to fit their offense the best and whatnot. For the Thunder as a fit, I think the Thunder are the perfect fit for Chet Holmgren. because he's going to come in with a team that has a ton of talent as it is. He's still developing, off the dribble, creating his own shots. So you got a bunch of guys around him like Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, who's kind of developing into a star of his own. Josh Giddey, who's also a very good passer. Lou Dort, a very good defender. So you got a lot of young talent that's just developing for the Thunder. They've got a bunch of future picks. Another pick that we'll talk about even later in this mock draft. And for Holmgren, I think he's going to slide in there perfectly. He's going to provide a lot on the defensive end of things. And he's also going to be in a very good offense to, get a lot of shots off, contribute a good amount offensively. They're not going to need to expect him to, we need you to come in and run the entire offense through you. That I don't think they're going to need because they got SGA. So they're going to run the offense through him and Giddey, and they're going to be able to create opportunities for Holmgren to get open looks. And, he's really going to thrive in that situation while he develops. I mean, he's only 20 years old. So, we'll see kind of as he, grows into a man and puts on some weight and, his game develops even further. I think he's got a ton of potential there. And then, year one, I think he's going to have a big contribution defensively. Probably a guy that's going to score 10 to 15 points per game right away. He's going to add a decent amount scoring. But like I said, I don't expect him to be, the focal point of the offense like I think there's a chance Jabari Smith is. But still, nonetheless, a very talented player, and I'm excited to see, if he does land with the Thunder and then how all that turns out. And then that brings me to pick number 3, which I have the Houston Rockets selecting Paolo Banchero out of Duke. Another big man with a different skill set than the other two we've talked about. So Paolo Banchero is a 19-year-old, 6'10", 250. So he's got a much bigger frame than the other two guys. And as a freshman at Duke, he averaged 17.2 points per game, 7.8 rebounds, and 3.2 assists. He also shot 72.9% from the free throw and 33.8% from three. And, I mean, Paolo Banchero was kind of the driving force to take Duke to the Final Four when they played against North Carolina. And, as a prospect, he is different because of the size. He's got a very polished mid-range jumper. He improved quite a bit throughout college as a passer. Super explosive guy with a very good post game. When he's attacking the basket, he can also handle the ball really well. So he's going to try to take you off the dribble. He's got a super nice spin move, nice hook shots. Very good post bag when it comes to scoring around the rim. And then he's just a super, super good athlete. He's got some very explosive athlete. He's going to be able to jump and dunk all over people, put a bunch of people on posters, finishing at the rim, catching lobs and everything like that. And then as far as defensively, I think a lot of critics don't realize like Banchero has a ton of potential defensively just because of how big he is and how good of an athlete he is. Like and then also if you look at Duke this last season, they had Mark Williams, who was one of the best defenders in the nation. So they didn't really need to rely on Banchero to be that guy defensively. So I think a lot of that can change at the next level. I think he's got potential to be a very good defender. And then as it goes with the Rockets are just not a good basketball team at the moment. They do have some young, talented players like Kevin Porter, Jalen Green. So they've got, some players to kind of develop with Banchero. But, like I said with the Magic, I'm not expecting them to come in and make the playoffs next year. They probably got a ways to go before that. But you build, you got your foundational player in Jalen Green that you took second overall last year. And now you get another guy in Paolo Banchero that you're taking third overall this year. So you're kind of getting your two, main players of the franchise going forward. And, we'll see how everything plays out there. Banchero, honestly, I think very good chance that he's in the running for Rookie of the Year. I can see him being the second or third best scorer on the Rockets day one. And, they don't have a whole lot of options. Obviously, Jalen Green is a very good scorer in his own right, so I think if you're betting, you're probably going to expect him to be the leading scorer on the Rockets next year. But I could certainly see Paolo Banchero kind of slide into that second or third spot there for them. And you know, like just looking at it too, honestly, there's a chance. I mean, we could say the same for Holmgren, Jabari Smith. There's a chance that Banchero even goes number one. I mean, these guys are very closely talented. They just provide different things offensively and defensively. They're all bigs, but they got different frames, and so it's really going to come down to how these teams view these prospects. And then getting into pick number 4, at this point in the draft, obviously the first 3 picks I feel like are a little easier. Pick number 4 is just completely up in the air to me. Personally, if I'm going best player available, I think Jaden Ivey is that guy. But what makes this pick so difficult to me is the fact that the Kings have taken guard after guard these last couple years. So I think in 2018, I believe, was the year De'Aaron Fox was drafted. Then in 2020, they drafted Tyrese Haliburton. And then in 2021, they drafted another point guard. And it's just like, do they go with another guard again this year? Like third straight year in the first round? That I don't know, but I do know that Jaden Ivey is a very talented player. Like, I think if you're just going best player available, I think he's the guy. Jaden Ivey's 20 years old. He only played 2 years in college, but he's a 6'4" combo guard, so I think he can fit in the 2-guard spot if he needs to, or he could play the point guard. It's interesting. So he comes from a very athletic family. His father, his name's Javen Hunter. He was actually a 5-year NFL receiver. And then his mother played in the WNBA for 5 years. And she's actually the current Notre Dame women's coach for basketball. So he's coming from a family with, deep-rooted athletic roots, and basketball history too. So, that's very cool. As a sophomore this last year, he averaged 17.3 points per game, 3.1 assists, and 4.9 rebounds, shooting 74% from the free throw line and just under 36% from the three-pointer. But, every one of those stats drastically improved from his freshman year. So this is a guy with high-level work ethic who's just going to continue to get better at the next level. And, he's one of the most explosive athletes in this draft class. The fact that he can play both positions, I think, is great and will actually help him, because the Kings might view it like that too. Like, we could run De'Aaron Fox and Ivey, and we could do a lot with that. He's great finishing it around the rim. This is a guy who's got a crazy vertical, can dunk on people and everything like that, but he's also got the touch around the rim as well. So it's not just power. And then, constantly improving as a three-point shooter. This last season, he carried Purdue into the Sweet 16, had a very fun run there. And from freshman to sophomore year, he had like a 10% increase in his three-point shooting. So this is a guy who's just getting a lot better. And he's kind of grown into his own as an athlete. And I think he's going to be a solid defender as well at the next level. And then as like we were talking about with the fit, De'Aaron Fox I think he's a proven point guard. I want to say he averaged 23 a game last year, 25 a game the year before. So he's an elite point guard. The Kings just have a lot of other, moving factors. But they traded last year for Sabonis, so they've got a solid big man. And they might, if someone slides to 4, obviously I think that big is the pick, whether it be Holmgren, Banchero, or Smith. But the likelihood of that happening is very slim. So I think here they take, the best player available in their mind. And, it does bring some questions up, like, do they end up trading another player? I know they just drafted Davion Mitchell last year, who's a pretty good player in his own right. I think he had 11 a game as a rookie. Or do they just, kind of have him run out off the bench? That'll be seen. We'll see as things progress. But as a rookie, I've got some high expectations for Ivey. I think he can come in, start alongside Fox right away, probably be in like the 15 points per game range, and just, help the Kings So the Kings weren't originally supposed to pick number 4. So I think in a perfect world, and obviously this is kind of maybe a little bit of a reach, but I think in a perfect world, the Kings, if they do everything right, there's a chance that they're maybe fighting for like the 10th seed and maybe making the play-in next year. Hope, if you're a Kings fan, you're just hoping you're not in the top 5 again of the lottery. Just any kind of improvement, that's kind of what you're hoping for. But that moves us to pick number 5, which is the Detroit Pistons. And I have them selecting Shaedon Sharpe, kind of out of Kentucky. So Shaedon Sharpe's he just turned 19 years old. He's one of the younger players in the draft class. He was originally the number 1 recruit out of high school in the 2022 class, and he ended up graduating early so that he could enroll in Kentucky's spring semester. So he went to Kentucky, practiced with the team, used the facilities and everything like that, so he was able to get, in one of the best D1 programs. But he didn't actually ever play. He didn't ever suit up, wasn't in the tournament or anything like that. So you do get a lot of scouts that are a little hesitant on that, and they critique that a lot more than you would think, which I'll get into a little bit more in a minute. But he's 6'6" as well, so great size for kind of like a shooting guard at the next level is probably what he'll play alongside Cade. But super explosive athlete. I think he's got a reported like just under 50-inch vertical, like 49 inches, something like that. But he's got, not just explosive off of 1 foot, both feet, just crazy explosion. He can finish at the rim, dunking on everybody, everything like that, but also good touch on his layups and whatnot. He's also got a good, I think he's going to be a very good scorer. He can shoot the ball from deep. He's got solid handles. He can create shots on his own. I think he's got a ton of potential there. And so kind of to touch on the lack of play thing. So, because, everybody that's around him, everyone that's around Shaedon Sharpe has good things to say about him, and, they speak highly of him. But, some people are not going to get over the fact that he didn't play in college. And it's like, these NBA players come from all over the place. Like, we get guys that come from Europe, and, you can make the argument that, D1 college, NCAA tournament type play may be better than, maybe not every single Europe league, but maybe better than, the NBL or something like that. So there's other organizations professionally. You get guys coming out of the G League now. And then even before this, we had high school players going pro. If the high school rule wasn't a thing anymore, Shaedon Sharpe could be just coming straight out of high school. So I don't understand why there's such, criticism for it. Plenty of players were drafted straight out of high school, never needing to prove themselves in college. And, in my opinion, basketball is not a sport that, you need to see the production against college talent. It's if you watch a player shoot in warm-ups and one-on-one situations, high school nonetheless, you can see talent. Talent it's obvious. It's, if we're talking about a guy that's maybe a tweener forward or something that, we've had similar, not similar to Shaedon Sharpe, but we've had, kind of undersized forwards that you don't know how they're going to transition in the NBA. That's one thing that's maybe a toss-up. Are they going to be able to play a small ball 5, or, how are they going to play at the next level? But Shaedon Sharpe is not like that. He's an elite level prospect. He's 6'6", that plays the guard position. So I don't see the criticism. I think there's a very good chance that he goes pretty high in the draft. That's why I've got him going 5th. And then as far as the fit with the Pistons, I think he fits perfect next to Cade Cunningham, last year's first overall pick. The Pistons, the year before this, before Cade, they drafted Killian Hayes, and I don't think he hasn't really worked out so far next to Cade Cunningham. But I think what Shaedon Sharpe provides, I think he definitely can be a better fit next to Cade, and they can really just develop into one of the best young guard duos in the next 10, 15 years in the NBA. So I've got a lot of expectations there. I think he's got a ton of potential, and the Pistons would be a very good landing spot in my opinion. I think there's a good chance that he's a starter right away. You know, Cade's a good scorer, but he's also gonna get his guys involved. So Sharpe could come in here and score quite a bit, and also kind of be in the running for Rookie of the Year, be on the All Rookie list, and one of the better scorers in this draft class, in my opinion. So I'm definitely looking forward to seeing that. And then moving to pick number 6, this is the Indiana Pacers. I've got the Pacers selecting Keegan Murray out of Iowa. He's a 21-year-old player, 6'8", 215. He only has 2 years of college experience, but he very good this last year. He averaged 23.5 points per game, 8.7 rebounds, and 1.9 blocks per game. He also shot just under 75% from the free throw line and barely under 40% from the three. He shot 39.8 from the three. And he also, like, part of the 23.5 points per game for Iowa, he was 4th in the nation. And if you look up, like, the stats, the top 3 guys on schools that you have never heard of, and they're certainly not like big D1 programs or anything like that, not even close to the level that Iowa is. So that just goes to show how good of a scorer he is. And he's also a very fluid athlete. I think he should fit really well into today's NBA game. He's good at finishing around the rim. He can stretch the floor. He's a very good three-point shooter. And he's also got, just an all-around scoring game. He's got some nice post moves. He's great in pick and pop shooting situations. Just a very good scorer. He's also got some pretty good handles for how big he is. And I'm curious, what position he's gonna fit into at the next level, whether it be a 4 or, I know some people even say that he could project as a 3 at the next level, but we'll see. As far as the Pacers fit goes, they've got a couple really good talented players like Tyrese Halliburton. Miles Turner, I think he's like 24, 25, so he's still pretty young. Chris Duarte, and then they've also got some pretty good veterans in Malcolm Brogdon, Buddy Hield, TJ Warren as well. So I think that Murray maybe doesn't start day one just because TJ Warren's going to be coming back, and he's a little bit more experienced and everything like that, and also a good NBA player. But I do expect him to contribute a lot right away, probably be in the 12 to 15 points per game as a rookie. He's going to have the potential to just put up buckets. No matter what happens there, whether he starts or not, he's going to be a good offensive weapon for them. So I think that's a good fit for the Pacers. And then moving to pick number 7, Bennedict Mathurin, I've got coming out of Arizona, going to the Portland Trailblazers. So this is a 20-year-old 6'6" guard who could probably, play more like a small forward as well if needed. He's got 2 years of college experience. In 2021, he averaged 17.7 points per game with 5.6 rebounds, and he shot 36.9% from 3. The year prior to that, he actually shot 41%, so he's a solid three-point shooter. 2021, he was pretty much the focal point of their offense. He took them into the Sweet 16 as well. He had a game in the round before the Sweet 16 where he just took over and basically forced them into the Sweet 16. So, he's a ton of fun to watch. He's a great catch and shoot three-point shooter. He's gotten a lot better off the dribble as well, and I think he's going to continue to at the next level. He's great moving without the ball, coming off of screens and such. And he's got the range to shoot the ball pretty deep. He's one of those guys that's just, he's going to get buckets. He's going to hit shots in people's faces and everything as well. And he's very explosive. He's going to go and dunk on you and, great in transition. He can catch lobs, all those kind of things that you look for. And he's also a very good defender. So, Mathurin, I think, is got a ton of potential there. As far as the fit goes, I'm not putting him in here to be CJ McCollum's replacement because they are not the same player. Mathurin has got more size. I think he might be a little bit, it's hard to say, is he going to be better defensively? He's got a lot of defensive potential at the next level. and I think he's going to help out Lillard offensively. I don't know if he's going to be able to be immediately that number 2 guy to help the Blazers kind of make a playoff run or anything like that. But you have Dame, so Dame's going to kind of run the offense through him, and they're going to be able to use Mathurin, coming off of screens, getting him open looks and such. So I really do like the fit there. And then, expectation-wise, I think there's a good chance he starts year 1 as a rookie. I think he can flourish around Dame. The Blazers are a team that's got a good chance to make the playoffs every year. You don't really expect them to go and win it all or anything, but Dame coming back healthy with Mathurin, I think there's a good chance that they make the playoffs at least. And then moving to pick number 8, I've got the New Orleans Pelicans selecting Dyson Daniels. He's a 19-year-old, 6'8", guard dash forward, coming out of the G League actually. In the G League Ignite program, he averaged 11.3 points per game. He did shoot 25.5% from 3, but he also averaged just under 6 rebounds per game, 4.5 assists. He shot 73.7% from the free throw line, and he's also coming out of Australia. I think he played in the NBL in 2019, I believe, and then he had the 1 year on the G League Ignite team. But this is also a guy, so he's got a 6'11" wingspan, and he grew like in the recently like from 6'6" to 6'8". So, he's continued to grow, and he's got a crazy length. As far as what he stands out on, he's one of the better defenders in this draft class for sure. He's got the length to alter shots, the athleticism to kind of guard multiple positions. He's good. He's a good on-ball defender, and he's good off-ball. He's good at reading the floor as well. Offensively, he's good at attacking the basket, good finishing around the rim. He's got nice floaters as well. I think he's improving as a shooter, but the one thing that you do see from him is he's got a nice jump shot. So I can certainly see him progressing as a shooter at the next level now that he's kind of coming into an NBA team. And then fit-wise, Daniels gives the Pelicans a very versatile defender with some offensive potential. And the thing is like they don't need him to come in there and be an offensive juggernaut. They need a guy who's going to be able to go and lock someone down and provide, some help in the fast break game, throw some lobs to Zion, those kind of things. Because they've got CJ McCollum, they've got Zion, they got Brandon Ingram. So they've got plenty of guys who can score the ball at will. So I think that's why he fits perfectly in this system for the Pelicans. He can come in immediately. What I expect, I don't know if he's gonna start. I think with how good the Pelicans team is, that's probably not gonna happen year 1. But coming in off the bench, given heavy minutes, being a defensive piece right away, and a guy who's young and just only growing as a basketball player, I think there's a lot to look forward to for him. And then that brings us to pick number 9. I've got the San Antonio Spurs selecting Nikola Jovic. So Jovic is 19-year-old. He just turned 19 too. And he's 6'11" with a 7'2" wingspan. And this is like a forward with a guard skill set. He's coming out of Serbia just like Nikola Jokic, the 2-time MVP. And he's coming off a year in the ABA, which is a Euro League. He had 11.8 points per game, 5.5 rebounds, and he shot 40% from 3 with 75% shooting from the free throw line. And, a lot of people see like 11.8 points per game and kind of don't think it's too impressive. The international basketball, they play a totally different game than we do here in the States. The leading scorer in the ABA last year averaged 17 points per game. Just under 18, it was 17.75 points per game. So that just to put it into a little perspective, like in college, even NBA, that's never happening. The leading scorer scoring 17 a game. So him scoring 11.8 points per game as an 18-year-old, I think is very impressive. And with at that size, being with the skill set that he has, he's a lot better. It's funny because I think that a lot of scouts and such are kind of underrating him and saying, he's going to go after the lottery. I've seen some mock drafts where he goes pick number 20, 21 in that range. And I've also seen like some of the criticism. He's not the best athlete, they say, but it's like if you turn the tape on, he looks like a very good athlete for how big he is. He's got incredible court vision. He's a good passer. He didn't have a crazy assist number, but it kind of goes back to, a little bit different basketball game overseas. But he's a good finisher. The court vision is one of the things that he stands out on. But he's good at attacking the hoop. He can finish. He's got nice touch around the rim. He moves the court very well. And he's got a nice jump shot. It's a very smooth-looking jumper. And I think he's got potential to become an even better shooter at the next level. He's good at creating shots for himself. Nice step backs. I think he's got potential to be like the next great Euro prospect. As far as the fit goes with the Spurs, honestly, the Spurs just have not been like the Spurs when I was a kid, really, and up until like 2016, 2017 or so, it's like the Spurs are a team that's in the running to win it all every year. They're constantly competing for the top of the Western Conference. But ever since Kawhi left, that has not been the case whatsoever. It's a team that has not even been able to make the playoffs as of late. But they do have a couple really good, young, talented players in DeJounte Murray, Kelvin Johnson. So Jovic should fit in pretty well right away. He's not going to be expected to carry the full load, but with the other players around him, I think he's going to be able to help get them involved offensively, and they're in turn going to help him as well, creating open shots for him. As far as what I would expect to see from him as a rookie, I think there's a very, very good chance that he starts from day one. I can see a 10 to 15 point per game guy, six rebounds, 6 assists type player. He's one of those guys who's probably gonna get you a few triple doubles, right away, just based on his talent. I certainly think he's got top 10 talent in this NBA draft. It's kind of crazy to me that a lot of people have kind of been letting him slide down the boards and whatnot. But, we'll see how things play out. I might just be an idiot and might not know what I'm talking about. I'm just going off of what I've seen from the game tape and everything. But, we'll see how things actually play out. I think with a lot of these players like Shaedon, Sharpe, and Jovic, I think the NBA teams will value these players a lot higher than scouts will. It goes back to the same with Shaedon Sharpe not playing college. I think NBA teams won't care as much. NBA teams are going to have these guys fly in and practice with them in person, and they're going to get to see firsthand how talented these guys are and what happened on, what they didn't do in college. I don't think is going to matter whatsoever to the NBA teams once the draft comes around. But that brings me to pick number 10 with the Washington Wizards. I have them selecting AJ Griffin, who's actually like one of the youngest. I think he might even be the youngest guy in the draft, or he's up there with it. He is still 18 years old. He's going to turn 19 in August. But he's 6'6" and he has a 7-foot wingspan. And he was the number 2 guy at Duke pretty much, alongside Banchero. 10.4 points per game, 3.9 rebounds. He shot 79% from the free throw line and 44.7% from 3. So he is a very good three-point shooter, and this was all as a freshman, helping take Duke to the Final Four. So obviously the shooting is one of his best assets, but he's also good at attacking the basket. He's a very good high-level athlete. Great, spot-up shooter, coming off of screens, really, really developing as a shooter. He's becoming a better shot creator as well throughout college. And then he's also, which is a skill, in my opinion, that's kind of fallen off a little bit, is the mid-range shooting at the next level. He's got a very nice mid-range jumper. He's also got a nice step back. And then the other thing to factor into everything is 2021, he was coming off of a knee injury. So he might not even have been 100% the whole year. So he's going to come into an NBA system alongside a player like Bradley Beal on the Wizards. and he's going to have every opportunity to progress as a scorer, and just make an impact right away. And I can see him, the thing is, so they've got like I think he's probably going to play like a small forward position most likely, but and the Wizards don't necessarily have like that player set in stone at the moment. So I think Griffin can start day one. They've got a lot of like stretch fours, centers type guys like Kuzma, Kristaps. We'll see how like the rest of the roster shakes out. But I think most importantly, being alongside Bradley Beal is going to do wonders for AJ Griffin's career. Bradley Beal is one of the best pure scorers in basketball, and like AJ Griffin's got the potential to develop into a very good player as well. He's just tons of potential there. And I expect him to be maybe third or fourth on scoring for the Wizards year one. And then I don't know if he's necessarily going to start right away, but he'll probably be the sixth man at the very minimum. Just so much upside there as a scorer, and gonna help this Washington team progress. They are in a weird fluctuating point where it's like they had the whole John Wall Bradley Beal duo for years. They were going to the playoffs pretty consistently, but now they don't have that. And then there's also some question marks as far as how long is Bradley Beal even going to stay on the team. So we'll see how the rest of those things shake out. But I really like this pick here for the Wizards. And then moving to pick number 11, I've got the New York Knicks selecting Johnny Davis out of Wisconsin. So Johnny Davis, 2 years in college, but his most recent season, he averaged 19.7 points per game, and he also had 8.2 rebounds per game, being a 6'5" guard. He shot 79% from the free throw line and just over 30.6% from the three. And he also made the second round of the NCAA tournament and was the Big Ten Player of the Year. So what stands out about Johnny Davis is he is one of the best defenders in this draft class. Incredible on-ball defender. He's always constantly active, moving on defense. He's moving through screens, just running constantly. And, just the relentless work ethic defensively. And then, he's good help side, breaking up passing lanes. And then when you look at his offensive game, he attacks the basket very well. He's a creative finisher. He's good at finishing with contact even. He's got some pretty good leaping abilities. He might put a couple guys on posters. He's got good touch around the rim finishing. And he's got a nice solid mid-range jumper. And he can also create a decent amount of bit of offense off the dribble. And he's a good passer, solid playmaker. I don't think he's going to be a point guard necessarily at the next level. But, just very good all-around skill set. He's improving as a three-point shooter as well. And then for his size, incredible rebounder. So for the fit, honestly, I think the head coach is going to love this player more than anybody. Tom Thibodeau is just a defensive-minded guy, so getting a guard who can come in, guard multiple positions at a very high level, and then help contribute a decent amount on offense as well. I like looking at the Knicks roster as a whole. You've got RJ Barrett as a cornerstone player to build around, but you got a couple other things that's like what's going to happen with Kemba, what's going to happen with Julius Randle, those kind of players. But Johnny Davis fits perfectly well in the system. I don't know if he starts right away. Maybe you play RJ Barrett at the 3 and you play him at the 2. But I think nonetheless he gets heavy rotation minutes in this Knicks defense. So I'm looking forward to seeing him play there. And then moving to pick number 12, this is the Oklahoma City Thunder's second pick in this class. I have them selecting Ousmane Deing, and he is a 19-year-old player out of France who's 6'10" with a 7'1" wingspan. And he's played a couple years in professional basketball. He played a year in a French club, and then most recently he played for a New Zealand team in the NBL. And so for them, he averaged 8.9 points per game, 3.2 rebounds, and he shot 66.7% from the line, 27% from the 3. So for Deing, he improved quite a bit, over his time in the NBL, playing professional basketball. But he's for 6'10", he's not necessarily a big man. He's gonna play. I've even seen people list him as a shooting guard, small forward type player. I I think he's got the size of a big man, height wise, but not necessarily like the big man game. But with the size, the length, great defensive versatility. He can guard multiple positions, affect shots constantly, like 7'1" wingspan. He's going to be able to get plenty of blocks. He's got good potential as an on-ball and off-ball defender. And then, looking at his offensive skill set, there's some things he's improving on, but he's got some good court vision. He's a solid passer. He plays well with the pick and roll and whatnot. And then, looking at the fit for the Thunder, they just have so many young, talented players. I think that you add a guy like Zhang, and, he's not going to be expected to come in and just, be the main guy right away. It's like he's going to have plenty of opportunity to develop, whether that be, in the G League, OKC Blue program, or, him getting rotational minutes off the bench. He's going to be a solid fit, and if he can develop the potential that you guys have for the Thunder, not only taking him, but Holmgren, the length, defensively, like the versatility, they could be a very dangerous team here in 5 years. Even here in a few years, if some of these picks pan out. So I do like the pick there. As far as like the lottery picks, I don't have the highest expectations for him year one, because I think he's so young that he's just going to continue to get better and progress in his game. But looking at the Thunder, they just had Josh Giddey, and he came in last year, also a player that played in the NBL. And, the scouts and everything were kind of, I don't know, I'm pretty sure this is Josh Giddey. He's like one of those guys that they put on the his pros and cons and like the things he needs to work on, and they put like he needs to improve at dribbling, passing, shooting, just like a bunch of things. And then he goes in and he's like one of the best rookies in basketball last year. And Zhang, maybe he doesn't do that exactly, but with the roster development that the Thunder have, I think he's got potential to, maybe blossom into a guy that's getting some solid minutes towards the end of the season. And, looking forward, he's going to be a great defensive player and just has tons of potential going forward after, year one even. And then brings me to pick number 13. I've got the Charlotte Hornets selecting Mark Williams out of Duke. So Mark Williams, legit 7 feet tall without shoes on. He measured at 7'2" with shoes on at the NBA Combine. And he's also got a 7'6" wingspan and a 9'9" standing reach. So, the guy could practically touch the rim without even jumping. And he played 2 seasons at Duke. Most recently, he had 11 points per game, 7 rebounds, and just under 3 blocks a game. And he also shot 72.7% from the free throw line, which I think is pretty good free throw shooter for a guy that's not necessarily known as being a shooter. And like as far as where he succeeds, he is a traditional big man in the sense that, he's going to be incredible defensively, just great shot blocker. He's going to be able to protect the rim very well. And then offensively, very good around the rim as well. He's going to be a lob threat. We're probably going to see a bunch of LaMelo Ball alley-oops to him if he does get drafted by the Hornets. Put-back dunks. He's a very good offensive rebounder. And then, obviously his rim protection is, I think, probably his calling card. And then, the putbacks, the alley-oops, those kind of things for him offensively. And then where he fits in on this team is the Hornets don't really have like a legit big man like Mark Williams. They've got like Miles Bridges is more of like a small ball 4. PJ Washington, he can stretch the floor a little bit better. Terry Rozier is a solid guard. LaMelo, obviously emerging star at point guard. So I think that he can slide in perfectly into this team. For my expectations, I think he could be a starter. Maybe average 8 to 10 points a game, 8 to 10 rebounds a game, maybe even, and a couple blocks. He's going to be a guy who can catch some lobs every game, put back dunks, and be a very good defender. And then you're looking too. Kenny Atkinson is the new Hornets head coach, and the team that he's just coming from. He hasn't coached in, like, I think 2 years, as a head coach, but he's coming from a team like the Nets where he had a lot of success with Jarrett Allen at center. So I think that Williams can kind of fit into a similar position to Jarrett Allen did with the Nets, and I really like this fit here. And then moving to pick number 14, the final pick in the NBA lottery. I have the Cleveland Cavaliers selecting.
Just really well done. Agbaji, little hesitation, and the soft touch off the glass.
Added Peyton Watson. And then Miles Johnson gears the lob to Agbaji. He was in the corner, and it happened anyway. That's good execution.
For more on the Wendy's Wooden Watch, go to ESPN.com and search Wooden. Good player. And Bill Self told Holly coming off the court at the end of the first half he was happy with his freshman. He's got to be happy with his upperclassmen as well.
Bruce McBride, twin grounds.
Oh boy, that is not going to make Tom Izzo happy at all.
3 seasons at Rutgers for Montez Mathis.
In this draft class. Very
small trade threes here with Agbaji. Agbaji and McCormick both go for the board. Second chance for Kansas. Agbaji drains the three. Turnover here.
He's a good outfield as well.
Brown with the steal against Mathis. Agbaji drains the three.
Coming off the screen, really shooting those kind of things.
Griffin lands. This is his 4th different stop transferring in from Iowa State. Agbaji. He continues his hot streak up to 16 points. Agbaji.
I feel like a lot of people get tied up into
left alone.
22 or whatever. They might want to take the 19-year-old guy and
6 to shoot.
But seeing a guy that's already
told me yesterday, he said, this is one of the best teams to watch on film. Look out. Lightfoot. Agbaji tried to hit the extra pass. UTEP runs into each other. Wilson hands to Agbaji this game.
And then defensively, he's a very
pretty good look right there. Agbaji new. All the way, left hand no good. Martin rebounds. Up to Agbaji. To Agbaji.
And we also, like, he hasn't been
Kennedy guarding. Agbaji slicing.
So it's a process. Agbaji, and he can fit pretty well again, like right next
Ochai in the mid-range.
Darius Garland is the 2 guard. He can play.
I'm a huge fan of the movie Gordon Road. Shinagnu with 8 points tonight, averaging 4.5 on the season. Agbaji can tell.
It's a pass-first game he's playing with this afternoon.
Agbaji connects from downtown. Over Bradford, tough angle. Agbaji, the putback.
That alone tells you how consistently good, efficient he is every game.
Many off nights from Nigel Pack. Not many from Agbaji either. He feeds Lightfoot for 2. Agbaji slashing.
Just throw some other names that are worth watching that I think just barely fall out of the lottery and very well could become lottery picks once the draft actually happens. We got Malachi Branham from Ohio State, Jalen Duren from Memphis, Ty Washington, the point guard out of Kentucky, and then Jaden Hardy from the G League Ignite program. So I think all of these guys, they got good potential, as well as plenty of other guys in the draft class. The video's already coming close to an hour, so I'm not trying to go. I mean, if I made this a 30-pick mock draft, then we'd be going for 2 hours probably, if not longer. But that kind of sums everything up. But as always, thanks for tuning in. If you enjoy the content, I make a lot of sports content, football, basketball. We talk about MMA, boxing, and, other major sporting events around the globe. If you enjoy the content, hit the thumbs up on the video. Please subscribe to the channel. It means a lot. I'm trying to grow and put in a lot of work into this thing. But thanks for tuning in.